We are back here on the program, everyone. John Pollock with you. And look who has stopped by. Jay Reso, better known as Christian, who is in town. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Hey, thanks for having me, John. I appreciate it. Good to see you. It's been a while.
It's been a while. I was going to say, how often do you get back to Toronto these days? Is it a rarity now? I mean, you've kind of sold us out for Florida.
Yeah, it's more of a rarity now, for sure. Especially since I have a 3-year-old daughter, it makes it harder to leave home. But yeah, we try to get up as much as possible. I was up with my daughter in the spring, so but I guess it gives my family a good excuse to try to come down to Florida a little bit more.
Now we're going to chat about your own stuff and what's going on, but I do want to talk to you a bit about UFC 205 from last weekend. We were in setting up this interview. That was what we were primarily discussing.
Yeah, we were just talking about it, just off the cuff, randomly.
And this card, I mean, it was promoted as the biggest card in UFC history. It was probably the deepest card on paper. And at the end of it, a 2-division champion in Conor McGregor. What was your thought going into that fight of how Conor McGregor would perform against Eddie Alvarez?
I think we discussed it, and I was leaning towards Conor winning. And I think it was kind of, it's weird because it was exactly how he said it was going to go, right? He said he would hit him once and then he would be shooting for his life. He tried to shoot a couple times. It just didn't work. He couldn't implement his game plan because of the, I guess, the range that Conor has. And when he hits you hard, And so it kind of takes guys out of their game plan, I think, right away. So it was, I thought that if Alvarez could get him down and kind of grind him out a little bit on the ground, it might go his way. But every fight starts on the feet, right? So and that's where Conor's the best.
It's amazing just how economical he is. I mean, Conor's not a guy that just swings wildly. He's got that power, but he lands in huge percentages, and that was, textbook on Saturday night was just whatever he threw landed on Eddie, and I couldn't believe just how easy Conor McGregor made that look.
I know, and the thing is too, it's like always the punches that you don't see, and like he followed everything up with that left hand that when he needed to throw it, and he throws it with precision. He throws it hard, so when it lands, it does damage. Yeah, he doesn't really waste any energy. Even he has a little bit of an awkward stance too. So I mean, it takes guys kind of out of their game plan right away, and he comes forward and gets right in Alvarez's face, so he can't implement the wrestling pretty much at all.
When you are watching someone like a Conor McGregor, I mean, this is a guy that just, to me, he's understood everything about this game. He understands the leverage he has in this sport and utilizes it to its maximum ability. I mean, just watching it from your industry and watching what this guy is implementing, he takes a lot of those principles and has applied it.
It's about having people emotionally invested in what you're doing. And when that happens, you'll sell tickets. And he understood that, and he understands that better than probably anybody in the UFC or any sport for that matter, because he's kind of on top of the sports world right now as far as what he's done. So he understands that, he implements it, and he does it with flair. So you can't deny the star power of this guy.
Following mixed martial arts and boxing, I know you follow it very extensively. When you see a guy that's out there and just simply doesn't want to be that guy that's going to talk, or when he's asked, who do you want to fight next? Whoever the UFC puts in front of me. Do you understand that athlete mindset, or is it somewhat frustrating for you knowing that that's a big component to this game?
Yeah, I mean, I get it from a standpoint of a pure athletic standpoint. I mean, you just want to take care of your business. You just want to fight and win, and that's all that matters to you. But when you're on that stage, it becomes much more. It also becomes entertainment as well as sport. So I think that there's an element there that guys that understand that are going to get further, are going to get more opportunities because of it, because people are going to pay to see them.
What would you like to see next for Conor McGregor? He has options now at 2 weight classes, and even is dangling around the idea of Tyron Woodley at 170.
I don't know if he should go back up to 170.
Yeah, it was a tough. We did that.
Yeah, it was a tough. It seemed like it was. He was coming up he was trying to eat his way up to 170, and I just don't know if maybe that was what was affecting his gas tank a little bit in those fights, and also being in there with bigger bodies, it makes things.
155 looks like a good
perfect
weight for him. He doesn't look starved at the weigh-ins like 145 does on his body.
I think a third Diaz fight at 55 I think makes the most sense, financially probably.
Sure.
So I mean, I know there's a couple other guys that are right there also in line, but I'd maybe have those guys fight each other and do that third fight with Diaz, I would think.
That we also had on the card Yoel Romero just blitzing Chris Weidman, one of the nastiest knockouts you've seen. And then we get a post-fight angle with Michael Bisping up in the bleachers. I mean, you were almost getting ready for them to announce that tickets are on sale now for our next middleweight title fight.
Yeah, Romero's impressive, man. He's explosive. And it seemed to me that he realized that Weidman was going for that same takedown that he had gotten a couple other times. And then at that point, he was just going to, next time he was going to time it. And he timed it perfectly and caught him with that knee, and that was it.
And just as we follow up on UFC 205, did you have Tyron Woodley, Stephen Thompson going a draw? Were you scoring it as you were watching it, or what were your thoughts?
Honestly, I thought if Woodley was going to win, I thought he would catch him in the first round and knock him out, much like he did with Lawler. And I thought, if not, I thought that Thompson would just pick him apart from a distance and then finish him in like the third or fourth round. So I definitely saw a finish either way, but. Yeah, it didn't go the way that I thought it was going to go.
Yeah, it looks like we might get a rematch out of it. So.
Yeah, for sure.
So many interesting stories that were coming out of that card. As we shift over to you as well, I want to start off just talking about the show that you and Adam and Edge did on the WWE Network.
Right.
Is season 2? Is it going ahead? You guys have kind of been teasing it.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like, nothing's 100%, but it looks like we're moving in that direction. So the first season was really well received. We
tremendously well received.
Yeah, thanks.
I would say.
So we had a lot of fun doing it, and it's a sketch comedy show that we developed 100% for the wrestling fan, for the WWE fan, for somebody that's buying the WWE Network on a monthly basis. So we wanted to have something specifically for them, the humor they would get. If you're not a wrestling fan, if you're not a WWE fan, you wouldn't get the humor. So and we had this whole library of footage to work with, So it took the first, 2 or 3 episodes for us to kind of figure out exactly what it was and what direction we were going to take it. And then after that, I think we started to hit our stride with like the 4th episode on. And yeah, like I said, from there we just got a ton of great feedback, and everybody seemed to really like it. So, walking around the city today, that's what most people are asking me about, is if there's going to be a second season. So it means people watched it, which is great. I
don't think that the WWE Network has had an original show that has better spoken to the audience that is getting this network. I mean, these are wrestling fans that understand their audience. And there were just so many of those clips that the day after, it was circulating everywhere. And it seemed to me this was the show easier to beg for forgiveness than ask for permission.
Definitely.
Just go in all in and see what we could get away with. And it seemed like you guys had free reign.
Yeah, we did. And they gave us, a long rope, so it was great. And we're doing stuff, and we'll just keep doing it until somebody tells us not to do it. And they didn't. So, I mean, like I said, I think that the part of it was that people liked that aspect. Like, man, these guys might just say anything. And I think that was part of the attraction of the show. Like, you never knew what we were going to say or we're going to do, and that's what we're planning on doing in the second season as well.
How daunting was it? I mean, it's one thing you guys sign up for this, you have your ideas in mind. Then when you're in the trenches and the team you're working with to produce this at the level you're doing it and keep it at this, because you've now got expectations from a lot of people. Was it a lot more than you anticipated going in?
It was a lot more, but in a good way. Mm-hmm. So the first 3 episodes we shot at once. And, the plan was for us first to have a pilot episode. And that didn't happen. We ended up shooting 3 episodes in 3 days, the first 3 episodes. And like I said, we hadn't had any reps with this. We hadn't, really worked with the whole team that was going to be on it. This was all like, basically, we flew in there, we had a little meeting, we had some material written, and we kind of hit the ground running. So after those first few episodes, we're like, okay, this is the direction I think we need to take it. We kind of tightened up the writing, which was myself, Adam, and then two other guys that were awesome. And we really wanted to be, like you said, in the trenches, and we really wanted to be kind of, after those first few episodes, realized we really need to be hands-on with this, and that's the way we wanted to be, and we wanted to put out something that was great. We didn't want to just like phone it in and be like, okay, yeah, let's just shoot these and go home. We wanted it to be something people talked about, something liked, and we take pride in our work, so we wanted it to be, because if it failed, it would look bad on us, right? So we really pushed to put something out that the fans were really going to enjoy.
At what point, whether it was before the season, during, that you guys sat down and said, we need a fly-in from Calgary. Lance Storm needs to be a part of this. There's no better character for this than Lance.
No, well, when we kind of had, because we had a lot of, like I said, we had a lot of content in there with the bleeping and stuff like that when they're using curse words and stuff like that. So we had just came up with the idea for one of the skits to have somebody from the network that was like counting the bleeps and all that stuff that came to reprimand us, and we're like, who would be better than that than Lance to come in? Now he works for the network as the content guy to manage, what can be shown and what can't be shown. So then, but the whole thing was for us to frustrate him at the end, and he snaps and swears at us, and he gets fired. So
a great, to me, involvement by one Lance.
Thanks.
Is comedy the most difficult and maybe underappreciated element to just work into professional wrestling? Because we see the times it works and we see much more when it doesn't work.
Right.
It's really tough to balance that.
And comedy is subjective too, right? Like
sure.
You might find funny, I don't find funny. So it's finding that fine line. And the way we approached it for this was, look, let's make fun of everybody. You know what I mean? And but here's the thing, we'll make fun of ourselves worse. Mm-hmm. So that was how we were trying to look at it. We'd always kind of be the butt of the jokes and all that sort of thing, and always, so yeah, it's a tough thing to explain. You just kind of throw stuff out there, and a lot of times good things come off ad-libbing. Something you'll have written and it's not working. Something that's on paper, it's like, this is going to be hilarious, and when you're doing it, it's not working. So you just try to tinker with it, or sometimes things, like I said, will just happen off the cuff, and that makes something funny. So yeah, it's a tough thing, because it's hard when it and there's things on there that failed, obviously, but the majority I think hit. So
is that a tough thing from your standpoint, watching a lot of young guys and women that are coming up, and you're on the live show, whether it's Raw, SmackDown, and that ability to ad-lib. I mean, It's a very structured show. Yeah. And to ad-lib, that's where you sometimes stumble upon great stuff.
Yeah, and I think that sometimes too, like when I started, there was a lot more freedom there to kind of do that on the show when you're out there doing a promo or something to that effect. And it seems like people should take a little bit more chances with that, because that's how things connect, and I know I watch Jericho, think he still does that, and there's certain guys that may do it, but I think you definitely, sometimes you need to step out of the comfort zone a little bit and take a chance, because sometimes when you take a chance, you'll hit one out of the park, and then, you're on your way.
Being, kind of away from WWE programming for the last 2 years, how much of this for you is just having that creative outlet that you've had throughout your whole career? Did this somewhat compensate for that? Was this similar?
Yeah, no, it's been great, because you definitely need a creative outlet, and a new challenge, something that's fun, something that it's, and like, not that it's complacent wrestling or anything like that, but you've done it for so long that it's, sitting there before a match, there's pressure, but it's like, not that you haven't done it. You know what I mean? It's like you've been there a million times. You know how to deal with the pressure. This one, it was completely different, because we're new to it, and it was fun to learn to do the writing, the producing, and then acting in it. So, you definitely need that outlet. You need that creative outlet, and it did kind of fill a void for sure.
Do you classify yourself now as retired? Have you come to a conclusion on that? Because it was very difficult with your situation. Where this was kind of taken away from you.
Yeah, it is what it is. I think I've come to the realization that my time in the ring is over, and it's fine. I have a 3-year-old daughter. She takes up a lot of my time. So it's and like I said, and if I was still wrestling, the Edge and Christian show wouldn't have happened. I also was on 5 episodes of the show Haven. That. Mm-hmm. It took about 6 months to shoot that show. So there's a lot of other things going on, and there's some cool things coming up in the new year that I can't really talk about now. But open up some time to work on some other stuff and try new challenges in life too that you just can't do when you're in the WWE schedule, because it's so busy.
When you had that final match, that 4-way, it was right before WrestleMania. I remember I talked to you that week before WrestleMania, and it was very much up in the air if you could do WrestleMania or not. Yeah. Did you know instantly that you had suffered a concussion? Were you dealing with symptoms, or did you feel this was something that was manageable at the time?
Yeah, I didn't know, because I'd just come back not even long before that. So I was aware when it happened that something was up, and which is why, but. You're trying to deal with it, and you're trying to, figure out, like, is this something that I can manage, or is, what I mean? So it's like, as a performer, your mindset is to try to, like, how do I get to the next match or whatever it is, right? So, you just got to deal with it and roll with it, and it is what it is, and it's I've accepted it, and that's.
Is there any kind of a silver lining? Because there've been other performers where it's not on their terms getting to retire, but being told that you've had your last match.
Well, the thing is like, the way that I look at it is, if I was earlier in my career, I think I would have had a bigger problem with it.
Sure.
Right. So, but I've accomplished so much in my career. Like, outside of the only thing I didn't do was headline WrestleMania. That was the only thing that I would have loved to have done, but didn't get a chance to do. Other than that, I was 2-time world heavyweight champion. We've had how many great, like the ladder matches, stole the show on WrestleMania, countless, travel the world. So it's like, if I didn't have those experiences and didn't have the accomplishments that I already did, I think it would have been harder for me. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I definitely realized at the time that I was closer to the end of my career than I was to the start. So I think that made it easier than if I had been like 31. You know what I mean? 30 or 31 years old. Then.
And I think for you, you can go through so many different chapters of your career. It could have been just the TLC matches that everyone remembers you for, but there's so much more to it. Are you similar? Like, I can't imagine a Mick Foley who has to talk about Hell in a Cell forever.
Right.
Do you ever get with that with the TLC matches?
For sure.
It's well remembered.
Yeah, no, it's funny because, like I just did the New York City Comic Con a few weeks ago, and, there's kids that are 6, 7 years old saying, "Oh, I love the ladder matches." And I'm like, I know you weren't born yet when these matches happened. They're like, no, our parents were huge fans, and they showed it to us, and we just love them. And it just shows you that they stand the test of time, that the kids now are going back, and their parents are telling them to go back and watch these matches, which is really cool. So, I still hear a lot about those, and that's fine, because we, that's what we wanted to do when we did those, make them memorable, make them so people talk about them years later. That was the goal.
When it came to your singles run afterwards, was it 2005, it just seemed to be, especially towards the end of 2004, you're paired with Tomko. You just started to hit a stride.
Right.
And I think everyone looked at, man, this guy, main event potential, the stuff with John Cena. I bet to this day you still hear the Tomko, give me a beat.
Yeah.
It's just,
for sure.
Was that where everything seemed to click for you? Was it earlier or was it later?
No, that's a time that it really, I started to hit my stride as a singles performer. It took me a little bit to catch my stride before that, but I think I really started to figure out the connection with the fans as far as getting the reactions that I was looking for. Although at that point, even though I was heel, I was starting to get cheered.
Yeah.
And I think part of that is that I think that fans almost kind of felt sorry for me a little bit, because I was, going out there putting on these great matches, and then it seemingly could never get through to the bigger bigger stage, So
well, it was such a tease for everyone because you were there, you were in it. Everyone wanted to see the Cena program, and then out of nowhere you get drafted, and it was almost like, well, now it's off the table.
Right.
And you guys had set the table for what could have been several months, and confirmation of you in that top role.
I don't think that it was ever specifically supposed to be a pay-per-view angle necessarily. I think it was going to be a TV type program, but I think that once we saw the reactions that were happening, I'm of the belief that it should have been something bigger. Mm-hmm. So, but it is what it is, so you can't change it.
As you look back to the days of Thug Life,
yeah,
who would have thought that all these years later, 2016, it's Rhino that's carrying the banner?
I know, right?
Thug Life was yourself,
Joe Legend,
Bloody Bill Scullion.
No, Bloody Bill wasn't.
Was Bloody Bill not?
No, it was myself, Rhino, Joe Legend, and Edge, Adam
Sexton Hardcastle.
Sexton Hardcastle at the time. Yeah, that was the trio. Not the trio. It was how many? It was what, 4?
4 of you guys.
Yeah. So.
And then you have Rhino.
There he is.
In politics now.
And tag team champion.
Who would have thought?
Who would have thunk it?
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
I know you're in town here for everything that's going on.
Right.
Survivor Series weekend. Are you able to watch the show now? Do you enjoy watching the show? Is that a difficult adjustment for a performer to
I think it
switch?
More so was when I knew that I was previously, when I knew that I would come back. You know what I mean? And it was hard to watch because I was like, man, I always felt like I could be out there and putting on some great matches and helping the show. So in that respect, it was hard to watch. Now I can sit back a little bit, watch it. Sometimes with a little kid, it's not so easy to watch all the time. But I definitely try to watch it more like a fan now, and just try to
do you like this kind of like you're in the family, but you still have a safe distance?
Yeah, that's good. And then the traveling is not as
that's
not as intense.
Good.
So I can't complain right now.
Anything on the horizon, boxing or MMA wise, that has your interest coming up in the next little while?
Boxing's so funny, man. It's like I'm a huge boxing fan too. I know Pacquiao has put on a pretty impressive performance. I don't know if I want to see the Mayweather-Pacquiao fight again. You know, I do know that Manny had shoulder surgery right after, and he went into that with a torn rotator cuff and didn't want to pull out, you know, so close to the fight. But I don't know. I've thought if anybody was going to beat or make Mayweather look bad, it would be Manny style, who just came forward aggressively and recklessly at times and will give him a bunch of problems. But I don't know. I don't know if they did enough in that fight to make me want to watch it again.
It seemed that was one. It was, you know, that night there couldn't have been a bigger spectacle in the world.
Right.
And I think some people almost felt like the shoulder thing. It was like, wow, they really got us with that one.
Yeah.
And I still feel you turn off half the people, you still have the second biggest pay-per-view of all time. There's a ton of money on the table.
Yeah. I mean, so I don't know whether Floyd is even interested. Maybe Floyd is going to fight Conor. Who knows? Well,
Crazier things have happened in this wacky era.
Yeah.
Any tease of like a time frame on season 2? Are we looking at 2017 at some point down the road?
Yeah. We'll start writing probably sometime early 2017, and then we will we'll pick it up at some point. Not sure exactly when. Whenever the schedules, Adam's and my schedule, get kind of where we can shoot it. So we'll see what happens.
I think we got to get a Don Callis appearance in season 2. I mean, that's to me the natural extension.
Yeah.
Now a co-host with one Lance Storm.
Right. We could get a little jackal.
We just got to find that emerald to put in the forehead.
I think there's a spot for him.
Off to the races.
Yeah.
Well, Jay,
I was gonna say maybe like remember the movie Big, where he found the thing and that's maybe if we had like a box like that and it was just Jackal was in there with the thing and we asked him questions and whatever he said kind of came true.
Man, the brainstorming session has already begun here. We're going to continue this off the air, but it's always a pleasure to have you here. Great to see you, and glad that so much is going well for you.
Appreciate it. Thanks, man.
Always great to catch up. He is Christian. You can catch season 2. It's coming your way somehow, and Don Callis may be on the way too.